Hey, everybody, this is Anita Anello, and I'm just so grateful to be here today to be one of the speakers in Ray's event. Today, I'm going to talk about for women specifically, but if you're a guy and you're listening in, trust me, there's going to be some good content for you here today. But really unleashing that power within and empowering women to thrive, not only right now, today, but into the future, into 2024 and beyond. First, I want to take a second to be able to thank Ray for having me here. What an honor it is to be a part of this event and his community. Known and Ray for many years now and just love what he's doing. I just want to be able to honor him as we're getting going. I also want us to start, I want to start us off with a little bit of wisdom here as we frame our mindsets around what does it look like to empower ourselves and empower others. And so the verse that I pulled out is one of my favorite. It's on my board behind me in my office, and I refer to it regularly when I need just a boost of courage and a boost of remembering who I really am. And that's be strong and courageous and do not be afraid. For the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. And we'll talk about that as we go through this presentation, just using wisdom in our decisions and wisdom in the things that we're walking through in life. So I also want to just take a moment before we really dive into the content to really encourage everybody and champion everybody and cheerlead everyone who's attending this event with Ray for these 3 days. I want you to think of the impact. Excuse me. I want you to think of the impact that you can have when you take what you're learning from Ray and Clarity Scribe and Brian and Joe and the other speakers that are on this workshop for a couple of days. Think of what it's going to mean when you're able to take the lessons that you're learning right now, investing in yourself and then investing in others, and the impact that you're going to have, maybe some of you for even generations to come. So I just want you to I want to whet your appetite on what's possible when you hang around with Ray and then other speakers that are going to be on the panel, not just me, but others that you are listening to in this 3 day event. So, just introducing myself real quick. My name's Anita Anello, and I'm a dynamic speaker and author and coach, and I'm a kingdom based entrepreneur. And that just simply means, in the context of what I'm doing, is I have a business that what we strive to do is be able to help others and bring glory to God along the way. So, in my current business, I coach successful corporate women of faith who want to start a profitable consulting business. And some of the things that I have walked through in this whole process of being able to build my business is I was in the corporate space for many years. I had a super successful executive level corporate job in the software industry and loved that for many years, but I really got tired of that and felt like I was choked out for a certain part of my career just because I started having kids and I really had a heart's desire to be at home with them and be homeschooling. And then as I transitioned into staying at home and homeschooling my kids, I also took some time in my career to take a break, and that was super important after having a lot of success. But then I was ready to get back to it. And so that's some of the things, some of the stories that I'm going to tell you today are really related to that. So I went from successful corporate world to really successful homeschooling mom. We've been doing that for many years and then transitioned back into owning businesses. And I've tried a couple of different businesses. I'll walk through some of those. But where I landed right now and where my heart's desire really is in the coaching space. And like I said, really specifically honing in on coaching those successful corporate women who want to do the same transition that I did. They had some skill set somewhere else, maybe like some of you who are experienced copywriters and you want to be able to transition that skill set and work it into a business of your own. So just tune in. We're going to go through some of these stories and some of these topics as we walk through this quick presentation. So, one of the things that I also want to just whet your appetite for, and I have for you at the tail end of this, is a gift for you just for attending today and being part of this community. I really always want to serve Ray and his community. And I'm going to give as a free gift a time management download that I have that helps folks who want to be able to know the keys to be able to launch and grow a business. And so we'll see that at the end. I'll share the link for you to be able to download that. And that's just my gift for you as you walk through this process with me. So, in this session today, I'd like to be able to show you how to unleash that power within you. and empower women everywhere around you to be able to thrive. And again, guys, if you're with us here, there's definitely, you either know a woman or you have someone close to you that is a woman, or maybe a sister or a wife or a mother or something like that. This is still valuable information, even though we are targeting it specifically to women. There's a couple of things unique to us as women that we want to talk about. And I also want to be able to encourage other women and help them know that what you're walking through and the transition that you might be going in. Maybe you want to go from the corporate space, you're in a job that you don't like, and you want to work your way into copywriting or coaching or some other kind of specialized skill. I just want to tell you, it's totally possible. There's never been a better time than right now in history for women to be in business, build businesses, be entrepreneurs, do their own thing. Like this is it. This is really a neat time to be able to do that. So another little piece of my story is, and how it connects to unleashing this power within me. I know that for many years I just didn't have the self-confidence to be able to show up on camera. I didn't have the self-confidence to show up on social media and create content. I didn't always have the self-confidence to be an entrepreneur. And so I'm going to walk you through that journey as we walk through these slides and this presentation, to be able to see what does it look like to go from the employee space over to the entrepreneurial space, and really walk that journey with me, and then hopefully encourage you along the way. I'm going to give you some practical tips. I love to get practical and tactical with my audience, so that you actually have some takeaways that you can do right now and implement right away. So we're going to do that as well. So one of the things I want to talk about first is embracing your awesome your authenticity, excuse me. It's important that we embrace our true selves and celebrate our unique qualities and strengths. And so I started out a little bit giving just a tiny little bit of my background. I came from the corporate space, had a super successful executive level career, got a stirring in me to do something a little bit different. Like I mentioned earlier, I wanted to be able to homeschool my kids. And so I did that. And then about 5 years ago, I started to get these stirrings in me. And I tried a couple of different businesses, and frankly, ones that weren't really a great fit. I had an Amazon business, and so an inventory business, and then COVID hit. And what I really found, it just wasn't a good fit for me, because I'm a teacher, I'm a coach. Like I love being able to connect with people, support people, help people, give them wisdom. And so for me, embracing authenticity looked like this. It was remembering what I was good at, that combination, but then also trying out new things. The process, it wasn't a failure to try a business and switch gears, and try a different business and switch gears and try another business, or shift things in my business. What it really allowed me to do is to lean in and into who I am authentically, the way that God has made me. And by the way, I'm going to talk in reference to God, because that's what makes sense to me. It's the framework for my life. If that's not where you're at, that's totally fine. Just be where you're at. It's no big deal either way. I'm just going to frame things in the form of wisdom and godly wisdom, and walking in my purpose, because that's what makes sense for me and my life. And so one of the things that I wanted to do when determining and embracing the authenticity and the way that God made me and the purpose that's in my heart was being able to try a couple of different things. And by the world standards, it was like try, fail, try, fail, try, fail. But really, what I was doing is I was figuring out the things I didn't want to do, so that I could walk in the things that I really wanted to do. And so catch that, because probably some of you are in that season right now where you're figuring out some things that you don't want to do. Maybe, like I mentioned earlier, maybe you're in a job that you just can't stand, and you're feeling choked out, and that's okay. That's great to actually be that self aware, I would say, so that you can figure out what your next step is. Maybe it's copywriting. Maybe it's something else. Maybe it's a combination. Maybe you're taking the copy and you're using it in your own business, so that you can cultivate this idea, this maybe ministry, or maybe a product that you have, or whether it's brick and mortar or an online business or anything in between. There's lots of different ways that we can actually take that. But part of that, when we are embracing our authenticity and figuring out who we really are, it's a process. I just want to encourage you. Part of the process is trial and error. So if you're in that stage right now where you feel like there's a lot of errors, just keep going, because you'll figure out what your next step actually is. The other thing that we want to do, and we're going to go through several points here, is the next thing is we're going to talk about is cultivating the confidence. So, confidence is key in pursuing your goals and achieving success. We also need to take risks and embrace failure as learning opportunities and then celebrate those personal achievements. So, there's a couple of things that I want to break down here on this slide a little bit more. This is what I notice when we're in a situation where we've been in an employment environment and we want to transition over to maybe an entrepreneurial space, or we've tried work, we want to try something new, maybe we want to try public speaking, but we don't feel like we have the confidence to do that. So one of the things that I found is one of my first public speaking events that I did, I worked for a global software company. I worked for a VP who actually, quite by surprise, one day in front of a crowd of about 250 people, he said, "Hey, by the way, Anita, um, today you're going to go on stage with me and you're going to be the one that actually delivers the message." And he prepped me, we were ready to go. But prior to that, excuse me, prior to that, my confidence of public speaking to that level of a crowd was non existent. But I had a little bit of experience in trying different environments where I did a little bit of public speaking on a smaller scale. But really, genuinely, the opportunity to speak on a bigger scale, I don't know if I necessarily would have sought that out on my own, but given the opportunity by somebody who trusted me, somebody who knew me really well, somebody who believed in me, gosh, even when I didn't believe in myself, like that was a confidence booster. And then as I went out and did the speaking engagement, like I said, an audience of 250, that actually built my confidence to go to the next step. So then the next step was an event we did where I spoke in front of 500 people and now in front of thousands of people. But see how the process is, we oftentimes when we're cultivating the confidence, there's two things that are going on here that I want you to get. Number one, sometimes when you're in the employee space and you want to move over to build your own business, that takes confidence to be able to walk that path and transition over to that or jump over to that, whatever that looks like for you. But the other thing that's really amazing is if you caught my story, it was other people believing in me that could say, "Hey, Anita, I know that you're going to show up and you're going to bring your best. I know you well enough to know that even if this is something you're uncomfortable with, I'm going to help to push you a little bit." So, if you don't have anybody in your life that can help push you to build your confidence a little bit more, go find somebody, go ask somebody, go out and again, a lot of times we have confidence in certain areas, but we want to stretch that muscle in other ways. Part of that too is taking risks and then embracing the failures that go along with the inherent risks. Every time we try something new, we have the opportunity to have it work really well or to fail. And that, but if it fails, by that it doesn't really go the way we planned, that's okay. Like I really want to encourage you to part of as we are empowering ourselves to be able as women to be able to take that next step in life, it's figuring it out. How do we create the confidence that we need? Where do we need to take some risks? Where can we embrace those failures and learn from it? Because that's the big difference between something that's a failure and something turned around into an opportunity. Then we can celebrate it. Is we figure out what did we do wrong? How do we do it better the next time? And then we move on. The other thing that I want to talk about, and this is a huge one for lots of us, especially if you have moved over to own your own business, is overcoming the limiting beliefs that inherently go along with that. Now, as women, we have a couple of extra, sometimes limiting beliefs that men don't have, but we're going to talk about that a little bit. So, there's some common limiting beliefs that hold women back from pursuing their dreams. If you're a woman and you have kids, you know what mom guilt is. I don't even have to describe that to you, but there's a whole lot of mom guilt that happens that we apply to ourselves. There's also a whole lot of mom guilt sometimes that our friends unknowingly or knowingly apply to us. Or if you're in a church environment, maybe that happens. Just hop online and look at somebody else's social media feed, and you might have the opportunity to have some mom guilt if you see somebody else doing something that you want to do, but you want to be home with your kids, or even maybe it's the reverse. You want to have somebody helping you with your kids so you can go and build a business or something like that. So mom guilt comes in lots and lots of different forms. There's also imposter syndrome. If you're not familiar what that is, that means I might not feel confident and have a limiting belief that somehow I can't show up just the way that I am. Like somehow I put it in these terms in my community. It's somehow, if I have imposter syndrome, it's somehow I don't believe that God has put this desire in my heart to show up and look the way that I do, sound the way that I do, act the way that I do, believe the way that I do. And somehow I'm not supposed to be doing that, or I don't have what it takes because I don't look or sound like somebody else. That's just a total lie. Let me just encourage you when it comes to limiting beliefs, you show up and do exactly what you're supposed to do and just be who you are and let the chips fall where they may, shall we say, because really the world needs you. They need you to overcome your limiting beliefs so that you can show up in the marketplace like you're supposed to. That can be in any work form that you desire. There's no restriction to that. There's nothing special about being a business owner and overcoming limiting beliefs versus being an employee or anything like that. This is just meant to encourage all of us. We all have some form of limiting beliefs, but we also have the opportunity each and every day to overcome those. So, let's talk real quick about how we overcome with the limiting beliefs. Number one, you get in front of somebody like a Joe Pomeroy, who's part of Ray's community, who helps you with the limiting beliefs. He's phenomenal at that. But we also do things like we read great books that stretch our thinking. We hang around people that are more successful than we are, so that can stretch our awareness and our thinking and our framework that we have in our minds, because the limiting beliefs, they only exist right up here. They don't actually exist in the out, if you use the term like out in the universe or anything like that. The limiting beliefs are all right here. So they're also all, that's great news because that means it's 100% my responsibility to shift those beliefs. So I can read great books, I can listen to great speakers, that means podcasts, I can follow other people. But what I want to do is work a little bit every day at overcoming those limiting beliefs. And that for me looks like declaring scripture. It looks like hanging out also with friends that are my big cheerleaders. It looks like trying new things and building my confidence and proving that I can, even if it doesn't go the way that I want. So, again, I promised you some practical and tactical things. Those are things that if you're not doing right now, you can put into practice right now today to help you overcome some of your limiting beliefs. So, the other thing that I want to talk about along the way here is finding and nurturing your passions. Um, so, discovering and pursuing one's passions and then aligning that with a business idea, that actually helps foster in us a sense of purpose. So, one of the things that I like to do, and one of the reasons I chose this picture on this slide, is that I love being outside. It's one of my favorite things. I feel an incredible amount of freedom when I'm outside. And pardon me, one of the things that was super important for me when I was building a business, and for those of you that are in that arena where you have a desire, you're either have a business and you want to build it with more time and money freedom, or you want to build a business. So, one of the things this is really for you. So, one of the things that I found when I was building my business, and he was really instrumental in helping me with this, is he helped me determine what was important in my life first and then building a business around that. And so we went through an exercise where we outlined our perfect day. It was probably one of the most impactful. I can remember the day and the time and where I was sitting when I was going through this exercise, because really, genuinely, at that moment in time, I decided I not only want money freedom in my business, but I want time freedom in my business because I like being outside. I have an online business and I coach clients. That doesn't, unless I prescriptively create an opportunity for me to be outside, I don't always otherwise have the opportunity to do that in my business all the time. But it's important for me to be able to figure that out. So, what I did is I went through the process of figuring out what's important to me in my life. What business am I already good at? And I can build around that and then connecting those two pieces. So, connecting my desire to coach with godly wisdom and bring insight and take my project management skills and find a new path to be able to help clients walk forward, plan those big goals, and do the whole project plan all the way back to what are the actual tasks that we need to be doing on a daily basis to hit the daily goals, weekly goals, monthly goals, quarterly goals, and then annual goals. Like those are all things that absolutely make my heart sing. But what I'm talking about here and finding and nurturing our passions is I'm talking about something that I love to do. I love problem solving. Like I just go crazy for it. It is absolutely my thing. I solve problems in the middle of the night. I solve problems all day long. There's nothing that excites me more than using the skills that I already have. And then what I needed to do was like couple those with the other parts of my life that I really wanted to do. So part of my passion, as I mentioned, is being outside. So I needed to find a way when I was building my business to take the skill set that I had over here and the passions that I had over here and start combining those so that I would have freedom. Now, I guess one could say the other opportunity is I could have maybe built a business around being outside all the time. I don't being cold, so I don't like being outside all the time. But I do like the sun, I do the beach, I do the time freedom that my business gives me to be able to do these kinds of things. For me, it's being outside and at the beach. But you get what I'm saying here is you're connecting the skill set that you're really good at with the passion, and then you're laying that on top of you're like layering that like a sandwich into a business, and then you're going out and doing those things and serving that audience that you're super excited and passionate about serving, and then that actually gives you a whole bunch of freedom both in your business and outside of your business, and you just have your purpose is higher, your joy can be higher, your peace can be higher, your fun can be higher, like your revenue can be higher. All those great things can happen when we start connecting these pieces of finding and nurturing our passion and pulling those all together in our life plan. Okay, so next topic, and as we're wrapping up here, is building a supportive network. So, as we think, I'll put it this way, my husband is an amazing chatter. Like he talks with everybody. Ray knows my husband. He loves my husband. He's My husband Vince is the kind of guy that we say in our household, he can make friends with a light post because he's just super on the disc profile. He's a super high I. That just simply means if you're not familiar with that, it just means he loves to talk to anybody and everybody wherever we go, no matter what. That's actually not my thing. My thing is not to be that chatty. I'm a little bit more introverted. I'm a little bit more reserved. I get my energy more a little bit from being alone as opposed to being out and around people all the time. However, one thing that I have learned being in business for 25 plus years in an industry and being around my husband is building a supportive network is radically important. And let's talk about why. And then we'll also talk about how to build this. First, let's talk about how to build it. So, you want to build a network of mentors and peers and allies who can provide you and guidance and encouragement. The encouragement part sometimes can be as equally important as the guidance, by the way, just so you know, because don't we know life is hard sometimes and we need other cheerleaders. This is one of my best friends, Tara. She's one of my biggest champion and cheerleaders outside of my house. I actually live with the biggest group of cheerleaders in my life, and that is an incredible blessing as well. But we also have the ability, so when we couple together with other people in our network, and we get to know people, we cultivate friendships and relationships and serve other people. That actually allows us to feel more empowered ourselves to go out and do more of that. But it also empowers us to collaborate with others and cheerlead others and champion others and support others. And the more, as Zig Ziglar used to say, I think it was something like, if I serve enough other people in the way that they need. I'm just totally messing that up. But he would say something to the effect of if you go out and serve a whole lot of people, then you will be able to grow a healthy business and be served as well. But really, what he was talking about is going and building a network of people around, and we do that by serving. It also, for those of us, again, a little bit more introverted, for those of us that are a little bit more introverted, that our skin crawls when we talk about selling stuff, selling services, selling anything, that's me. I don't like doing that. When I realize that I show up and I'm actually serving and not selling, just when I am talking to people, it's now actually my way of life, and I can serve all day long. I love serving people. It's one of my most favorite things to do, is to figure out how can I connect with somebody else and then how can I serve them. I had a situation several years ago in the Amazon business, and I had made some email introductions and some phone call introductions with a prospect, and I was super terrified to actually go and meet with a guy and really like pitch my services and what I did in my wholesale Amazon business. But then I sat down with my husband, and he was the biggest cheerleader for me because he helped me see, honey, you're leading teams at church. You're talking to people all week long in homeschooling communities and in other areas of your life. And he just basically opened up my eyes to all these ways that I was already networking with people. I just didn't call it that. I was just making friends. And so, long story short, my husband walked me through a whole process and really cheerleaded me and championed me because I was terrified. I booked the appointment, but I was terrified to go. So I go and I just sat down and have a conversation with this young guy and shared some of my background. And he was like jaw dropping. Wow, you've done a lot of things. You're really experienced. Oh my gosh. And so tell me more. Do you know I walked away with a contract in hand, being the only exclusive wholesale distributor of his product in the United States after a 1-hour meeting over coffee. Just getting to know the guy, being interested in him, being willing to serve and understand what his needs were, and then have a conversation around that. The supportive network is really key. Not again, just my perspective is not so you can sell everybody, like not so you can go to all your friends and say, "Hey, I'm selling, I don't know, whatever, oils," or our moms would try to sell Tupperware or anything like that. More so that you can have the feeling of the community. One last thing that I just want to add to that, that I was just thinking about, when you're transitioning from an employment and situation, especially if you deal and work with a lot of teams all day long and other peers, and then you transition over to the entrepreneurial space, this will be another empowering thing for us as women to really understand. You genuinely need a network of other people that are around you that can champion you, support you, teach you, help you, all those kinds of things. Because the entrepreneurial space, it can be a lonely world, especially when we're used to all these teams over here, and when we're in industry and in the corporate world, and then we move over and all of a sudden it's like crickets when you need help and you need to talk to somebody. And again, if you're a little bit more introverted like me, I'm not going out and having coffee with every day because that's not my thing. I don't actually like doing that. I like meeting with my girlfriends and friends and colleagues and clients and stuff like that. But it wears me out to do that every single day. My husband, on the other hand, he could do that all the time. So, see how what I'm giving you also is, if you're a little bit more introverted, you can build a network. If you're a little bit more extroverted, you already know you can build a network because that's just what you do naturally. So, we love you guys, by the way, you super extroverted people, because you encourage those of us who are not as extroverted all the time. Oops. Okay. So last slide, and we're wrapping it up here. Balancing our work life. So there's a couple of things that I wanted to mention here. We can there. Here's the thing. I remember working for this global software company, and the HR team would tell us, it felt like on a daily basis, probably a weekly or monthly basis, it's all about work life balance. So you know what? That was such, I'll say, garbage. Because I was working an 80-hour work week. There's no such thing as work life balance when I'm dedicating that much of my time to somebody else. Like, it's just not possible to have an 80-hour work week, or I dare say even a 60 or 50-hour work week, sometimes even a 40-hour work week. Like, it's really hard to have balance when we have that kind of a schedule. So what I do want to encourage you ladies here specifically, I want to encourage you, empower you to do a couple of things. I want to help you to understand that there are priorities in our lives as women. When we take care of ourselves, our minds, our bodies, our souls, our spirits through self care, we are actually able to show up better and serve. If you're a mom or a wife, you might show up a little bit more peaceful, a little bit more joyful. Self care is super, super important, especially for us as women, because sometimes as women, we can have a tendency to take care of everyone else's needs first, and then we're completely run down. And I talk to women all day long who have that, the women, moms, wives, all the labels that we use as women. And we're all tired. We're all using stupid phrases like we're crazy busy. That's just a stupid phrase to me. But anyway, self-care is one of those key things. And that can be in the form of exercising, scripture reading. So here's tactical and practical again: exercising daily, scripture reading, drinking enough water, eating healthy, um, meditating, if you like gardening or any of those, whatever you decide to be as your healthy self care. If I have to, a little asterisk there, just you're choosing healthy choices for self care that help to build you back up. And then when you're built back up, then you can pour out better in your family. You can have more free time. So what I'm saying here is cultivate that time. Cultivate your self-care time. Carve it out on your calendar. Carve out your family time, intentionally raising your own kids instead of having your nothing against nannies, but instead of having your nanny raise your kids or the school raise your kids or something like that, cultivate your free time, put it in on your calendar. For those of us who love to work and we think it's our hobby and that's our purpose is just to work, work, work like crazy, that's actually not that's not the right balance right there. That's got not God's design. There's nothing wrong with work. Don't get me wrong on that. But we do need to have this balance of some of these other things like family time, free time, fun time. Productive time is everything that you do. It could be around your work, it could be around your house, whatever that looks like. That's just a big umbrella for one category of things. But here's the thing on balancing your work life: nobody but you can determine what balance looks like or tell you what balance looks like. So figure that out for yourself, write it down, put it on your calendar, and then just stick with it. If you're married, figure it out for yourself, run it by your partner, and then write it down, put it on your calendar, and then just follow through on something that is so important. It's actually it's probably one of the most important things that you can do in your day is to have a little bit of time devoted to self-care along the way, and that will help with the balance of this crazy busy lifestyle that we are all engaged in 2024 and beyond. Okay, thought we were one slide away from the end, but here we go. The last one is overcoming challenges in the workplace. So I've touched on this a little bit. I'll just say real quickly there are unique challenges that women face in the workplace that can be a little bit different than men. We have things like the glass ceiling. We have things like maybe women sometimes when we don't want to tell our bosses that we're pregnant. As women sometimes we don't want to share things that are going on in our family or our marriage, or there's all sorts of things that are challenging in the workplace. There are things that are challenging that are different for men and things that are challenging that are different for women. There's all sorts of things that are unfair in the workplace for both genders. But here's what I want to say on that. I guess maybe two things. Number one, if you're in a work environment that's toxic, like I have told a story before on my podcast that's called The Messy Middle: One Mom's Journey to Build a Profitable Business. I told a story one time about a lady that I used to work for in tech who I called the devil boss, and she was ridiculously awful. I loved my career. I loved my team. I loved almost everything about my job. And then I got reorged under this one lady who was just ridiculously awful. It was time for me to move on. At that point, based on all the circumstances, without going into all the details, it was just time for me to find a new job. If that's where you're at and your work environment if something in the work environment is toxic, just move on. There's always a job for somebody who wants to find a job. The other thing that I wanted to say is whatever it is that's going on in your workplace, I just want to encourage you and empower you to know that. And if you don't know this, I'll be believing for you. Whatever it is that's going on, you can overcome it. So make yourself a little note on this date. Anita told me whatever it is that's going on, fill in the blanks. I can overcome this. And then when you have, email me, reach out to me on social. I'd love to be able to hear how you overcame that challenge. I love those kinds of stories. And I will absolutely champion you and cheer you on and be praying for you in the meantime and just waiting to hear feedback on what that looks like for you. Okay, so I promised you the free bonus. So the link is listed on the slide here. Maybe Jenny, as she's managing the presentation, maybe she can throw that in the chat so everybody can download that for those that want. So the free bonus is a time management, the keys to launching and growing your business in 15 hours a week. That's part of my story. I was able to take my corporate schedule and cut it down by a quarter. And then now I make about 3 times more than I did in the corporate space. And so, if that's something, and time management was a big part of that, if that's something that you're really interested in learning more about, go ahead and take that free guide. And I'd love to be able to hear from you. If it's something that you like, let me know. If there's something else that you would like me to create, let me know as well. For all things social, anytime anyone wants to reach out, I have a link here. And I just want you to know, as I was crafting this presentation and thinking about what I wanted to share, I wanted each and every one of you to know that you can make a meaningful impact in your life and the lives of others. Whatever it is that you're doing, whatever it is that you're going after, whatever it is that deep desire that God's put inside of you, go do it. Go do what you were put on this earth to do. And just know, I believe in you. I am championing you. I am cheering you on, and I'd love to be able to hear from you if what I said today actually just made an impact on you. So feel free to reach out and just know that by being in Ray's community, you are so blessed. So I just want to honor Ray again. Thanks for everything that he does for everybody all the time. He's amazing. We all love Uncle Ray. So talk to you soon.